G'day folks, welcome back to the channel, and if this is the first time you're clicking on the big fella, make sure you subscribe and keep the notifications on. So as you might be able to tell behind me, it is that time of year again, and it's also the first time that I'm shooting in daylight, so try to ignore the amazing whiteness in the background because the whole kitchen's white and it's being lit up by the skylight. Anyway, so today we're going to get into the whole nuts and guts of videography, and that is the camera. Now, a lot of it comes down to brand, budget, choice of options. Ultimately, it is your camera. You do with it what you choose, and basically that's exactly the determining factors that people will use to choose their cameras, because sometimes they'll use it for professional purposes, sometimes they'll use it for vlogging, and other times they'll just get a standard little digital camera for taking pictures and no video whatsoever. It doesn't matter. Basically, it's up to you how you use your camera. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'll be going through my Canon M50 Mirrorless camera. So there's a lot to go through on this camera, so I'm going to go round it up as briefly as I can. So this is not going to be a full in-depth analysis of the camera and its workings, as there's plenty of other videos about that already on YouTube. So, however, I will gloss over some of those functions, but this will be describing the basics of the M50 mirrorless camera, how I use it, and for what purposes and what situations, etc. The main purpose I used mine for, well, originally when I got it, was for vlogging. Now it's more of a semi-professional type of camera because it can put out the same kind of digital format that the higher end cameras can do, because it's a mid-range camera. And basically now it is the only real camera that I use. I mean, sometimes if I don't have very much choice, I'll use my phone or I'll use my old JVC camcorder. There's a bit of a choice there that I can choose, but where I can, I will use the M50 because of the quality of the output. So going by the Canon site, the Canon M50 is described as a mid-range mirrorless camera, and from what I've been able to shoot so far, it's proven itself quite capable. The main selling points of this camera are that it can shoot in 4K. It is a lightweight mirrorless camera that is an ideal companion for the vlogger. But whilst I personally haven't had a use for the 4K capability, there is a slight caveat, and that is what's called the crop factor. And this is because it has an APS-C sensor. So to simplify it with an example, a 100mm lens on this camera would show the same area of view that a 160mm lens would show on 35mm film, or what the basis is for a full frame sensor. So while you're shooting in 4K, what you're getting is cropped 4K, and it's all because of the sensor size. So it can record movies in 4K at 25 FPS in PAL format, in full HD at 60p, and high def at 120p. Now, being a mirrorless camera, it's unlike a DSLR in many ways, but it's also very similar. So the most significant being that it's missing all the hardware that a DSLR has, that being a prism and or a series of mirrors, and instead incorporates a sensor attached to a circuit board. It has an electronic viewfinder, so it no longer has to rely on mirrors and a glass prism to obtain an image, and this is provided by the electronic workings inside of the camera. With an APS-C sensor size of 22.3 by 14.9mm, and approximately 24.1 megapixels, what you're seeing in 4K is cropped down by the size limitation of the sensor. So while it may be a selling feature of this camera, I personally have never used it because the size of the files would be enormous. Even just taking pictures with this camera in 16:9 format, you're looking at a 6000 by 3368 pixel resolution, resulting in photos that are sometimes upward of 10 megabytes each. This leads me on to the next selling point, which is the technology behind the sensor. It's powered by a Digic 8 imaging processor and incorporates dual pixel CMOS autofocus. This results in every pixel on the APS-C sensor providing autofocus information and capturing the image immediately after for much better quality images. I have some footage from one of the first times I used the camera, and I remember being totally blown away by the light compensation ability. In the back of a C-17 military aircraft, it's exceptionally dark, but the LCD viewfinder acted like the camera had a spotlight in front of it, which lit up every portion of the aircraft that I couldn't see naturally. The LCD viewfinder is a flip-out unit and can be rotated to suit. It has a 3-inch OLED electronic viewfinder with 2.36 million dots and a touchscreen with 1.04 million dots, and every function can be controlled via the touchscreen unit. A dual sensing image stabilizer, external mic input, LP-E12 battery slot, SD media card slot, and a max ISO of 25,600, which can be expanded to 51,200. It has a max shutter speed of 1/4000th of a second, and the body, battery and SD card with no lens weighs in at a measly 387 grams. Attach a pancake lens to this, such as the 22mm f2 Canon prime lens, and you'll have a ready to shoot rig that weighs a total of less than half a kilo. The lens this camera comes with, also known as the kit lens, is a 15 to 45mm f3.5 to f6.3 standard zoom lens with an equivalent 24 to 72mm full frame focal length. It is an EF-M mount designation, with the M being for mirrorless cameras. It has image stabilization and an STM or stepper motor autofocus, which is very quick and, importantly, very quiet for recording video. With a different mount setup via an adapter, such as an EFS, the lens options open up a lot further. Now, I've outlined most of the pros in this video so far, basically by its normal functions and kind of how I use it. Unfortunately, there are some cons, and it's kind of hard to get away from. So I can only really see two cons, and the first one is a big one. So it's a severe lack of lens options from Canon. Now, when this camera was released, the EOS R was released at the same time, or around the same time. And this camera, the mirrorless M series of lenses, got shelved, and kind of the EOS R, which is kind of prone to overheating, Canon decided that M50 or the M series of cameras can play second fiddle. So what happened there was Canon kind of shelved all the M series of lenses, and Sigma kind of picked up the ball where Canon dropped it, and now Sigma provide a range of lenses such as the 16mm, the 30mm and the 56mm, So basically going from wide angle to portrait photography in just a standard range of 3 lenses, and they are all M mounts. So naturally Sigma do lenses for other makes of camera as well, but they had a kind of a pressing need to get one out for Canon because of the lack of lens options that came from Canon. Now the second con is that it's a smaller form factor than a DSLR camera. So if you hold this camera like you would a normal DSLR camera, and you've got larger than average hands like I do, then you'll need either a cage or a frame to house the camera into. Otherwise it'll feel like it has less substance about it. You can't really get a good grip on the outside of the camera like you could on a DSLR. Now the above mentioned cage or frame I will be addressing in a later video, and that will be the small rig video, so keep an eye out for that one. So going by past videos, right now is probably the time you'd expect me to get all tactile with it and hands-on with the camera and kind of show you all the things that goes on with it, but to be honest, it's a camera and it needs to be learned. So I could show you all the menu functions and the touch screen and all that, but the thing is, I'd be here for over an hour trying to explain it. So it's best to get your hands on the fact sheet from Canon and have a look at what they've actually outlined for the camera's operations, basic functions, all that kind of thing. And this is something that people would have already outlined in other videos on YouTube, so yeah, it's something that I wanted to hold off on for this video. So guys, as I said at the beginning of the video, the camera that you choose will be largely influenced by what you're going to use it for. And the M50 met most or nearly all of my needs, and because it was an emerging technology, mirrorless cameras, they're kind of taking over the market now, but I decided to go with a mirrorless camera over a DSLR because 1, it was lightweight, 2, it was a smaller form factor, and I could actually do some modifications to it, kind of get some accessories for it and whatever, not typically handle it like you would a normal camera. I didn't want to be like everyone else. I'm kind of aberrational like that. So when you do get your hands on a camera, make sure it's for the purpose that you need it for. These days most mirrorless cameras will do everything a DSLR can, only they are lighter weight and less bulky. Right guys, that's it for now. Next week will be the Christmas special video, so I haven't really decided what I'm going to put up just yet, but I do have some pre-recorded videos waiting to go up, just trying to decide which one to make the Christmas special, but anyway, I'll decide on the day. So thanks very much for watching once again. Like, comment, share and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you back in the next video for a Christmas special. Until then, this is the big fella. Have a good one, guys.